Well, greetings. This is Bryan Hudson. Welcome to Conversations in Focus. This is a program and podcast designed to present people who are making a positive impact in God's kingdom and in our community. My guest for this episode is Dr. Michelle Daniel Jones. She was one of our presenters at a town hall gathering we hosted entitled Connecting Community with Returning Citizens. At the town hall, we explored how the body of Christ can extend grace, opportunity, and belonging to men and women reentering society after incarceration. Scripture teaches us to restore and reconcile, reflecting the heart of Christ, who came to set the captives free, not only spiritually, but socially and emotionally. At the town hall, we explored practical ways that churches and believers can become safe spaces for growth, discipleship, and reintegration, helping returning citizens rebuild their lives and rediscover purpose within God's family and within the broader community. Dr. Jones is a returning citizen, a term that we prefer to use rather than ex-convict. Accountability, redemption, rehabilitation are all biblical themes. So the least that we can do is extend the same grace that God has extended toward us. Dr. Jones is a founding member and board president of Constructing Our Future, a reentry and housing organization for women created by incarcerated women here in Indiana. During incarceration, Michelle continued on her path of accountability, rehabilitation, and education. Upon release, she was accepted into a doctoral program and earned her PhD from New York University in May of 2025. Dr. Jones' academic and public service works are numerous. She was a research fellow at the Charles Warren Center for Studies in American History at Harvard University, a Ford Foundation Bearing Witness Fellow with Art for Justice, and an Artist for the People Practitioner Fellow at the Human Rights Lab Center for Study in Race, Politics, and Culture at the University of Chicago, and much more. Constructing Our Future welcomes back previously incarcerated women who have demonstrated a sincere desire to be independent, law-abiding citizens upon their return by providing a safe, affordable place to live immediately upon their release and a path to permanent, stable housing. This residential program surrounds newly released women with other women who have taken a similar journey and prepares them for livable wage jobs, independent living, and family reintegration through mentorships, connections with necessary resources, assistance with financial, social, job skills, and access to education and recovery and mental health services. Let me read this statement from the website. In order to create the life we want, we must construct it. Be intentional. We must take the parts and elements of ourselves that are amazing and strained and recombine them to construct the way of life that we want. That does not ever mean starting from scratch. Even when builders build new buildings, they are starting with elements, components already available, already here, already made. That's a great statement. Following the conversation, I want to share with you the presentation that she brought to our town hall gathering on November the 15th. Her topic was Housing, a Place to Begin Again. I'll be right back. Welcome back, friends. This is Pastor Bryan Hudson. Looking forward to this conversation here on our program, Conversations in Focus. You heard the introduction to my guest. Now I want you to meet my guest, Dr. Michelle Daniel Jones. Welcome, Dr. Jones.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great.
It's a pleasure.
Honored to have you. I met Dr. Jones through a mutual friend and colleague, Chaplain Dolores Epps of Friends Fellowship.
Right.
I was honored. My wife and I visited your facility on College Avenue.
Yes.
Met you and your husband there.
Yes.
Got a tour of the facility. And it was such a blessing to see a place, a safe place, a home-like environment.
Yes.
Where you serve the people you serve. We'll talk about that during this segment. So welcome, Dr. Jones. My first question for you is, what is Constructing Our Future and why did you establish it?
Thank you. First of all, it's an honor to be here with you. I thank you so much for inviting me. Constructing Our Future. Constructing Our Future was built inside the Indiana Women's Prison, and it is a home where women coming out of incarceration, coming out of homelessness, who are impacted by the criminal legal system, have a safe place which to restart their lives. So the program is many phases. It is that direct services, that wraparound support, and then that transition to permanent housing. In addition to that, we have several other programmatic things that are important to the work that we do. And why? Because women impacted by the criminal legal system are battling the carceral state. The carceral state funnels people into it through a myriad of reasons. School to prison pipeline, concentrated poverty, joblessness, the war on drugs, crime and racialized law enforcement practices. And it funnels hundreds of thousands of people into the system, and they experience what is called a civil death, where they lose right to full personhood in the law. And that's about 2.3 million to 3 million people a year. And about 700,000 to 1 million of those people return, and they return to a state of unfreedom. And unfreedom is that state where you are under constant surveillance of probation and parole, community corrections, and other barriers that hinder or block your access to resources and opportunity post-incarceration. And those people then find their way cycling back through the carceral state because of the barriers, the destruction of opportunity, from everything to hypersurveillance, racial profiling, cosmic employment exclusion, issues with housing discrimination, easy revocation of probation and parole. All of these things funnel people back into the criminal legal system, and only a few of us, and to God be the glory, I am one, can escape the clutches of the carceral state. So Constructing Our Future was created to be that bridge for women coming out so that they can find a way out of the carceral state. Yeah.
What is your mission and vision?
Yeah. So our mission and vision is that people who have demonstrated while they were inside that they have a desire to live law-abiding lives, but also to construct a life that doesn't involve a pathway back to the carceral system, that we provide them with a strong home-based environment where they feel welcomed, where they experience belonging. And so that from that safe place, they can build and construct their future. That's what we do.
Yes, wonderful. And that really leads to our next question, is how does your program help build and rebuild lives?
Yeah, in a very practical organization standpoint, it's about autonomy and accountability. We are counteracting the practices in prison that treat incarcerated women like children, and we help them step fully into adulthood, which means any other adult you know in the world, they are accountable, but they're also autonomous. They get to construct their lives. And so we start with a simple 3-goal plan. What are the 3 goals you want to accomplish right now? And as they knock them off, they grow in self-esteem. They grow in their capacity to take charge of their lives. And we do that in a very person-to-person practice. You know, reentry is not cookie cutter. It is not a one-size-fits-all practice. It is looking at this one individual and looking at her particular needs. Is it family reunification? Is it getting her driver's license back? Is it finishing her college degree? Or is it getting into an apprenticeship program because she wants to do vocational jobs? It's very customized. And you need a case management and a housing coordinator and staff who understand that there's no cookie cutter to this.
I hear you speaking, and let me tell you what I hear.
Okay.
I hear expertise. I hear love.
Thank you.
And I hear lived experience.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There's something about that, isn't it?
Yes.
When someone is serving in an area and serving a population that you actually are acquainted with.
That's right.
And you mentioned about you were incarcerated. Now you're a returning citizen.
Absolutely.
And so you've went on to earn your doctorate. And I've been looking at your work. And I've been looking at your website. I've been reading some of your work, and you've done this deep research.
Yeah.
And not only the academic piece, but you've connected that to real people.
Yes.
And your dissertation, I believe, you focus on a particular institution. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I was interested in how people survive very horrendous circumstances that bring them into incarceration, their time of incarceration itself, and how that might impact their success post-incarceration. And so I studied the Julia Tutwiler Prison for Women in Wetumpka, Alabama, and I specifically looked at what are the creative survival strategies that women in this prison are deploying to survive what many consider the worst prison for women in the United States, simply because of the level of sexual and gendered violence that women experience in those facilities. For decades, the facility has been under surveillance by the federal government for countless abuses, and yet there are women who are figuring out how to survive and eke out even some moments of thriving in that environment. I was curious about that because for me, in my own incarceration, as I sat and reflected, my relationship with God was foundational for my ability to survive my environment. But then there was also other things that I tacked on top. My access to education, my access to be able to create a spiritual liturgical praise dance group called Lifted, the ability to write and draw, all of these artistic practices sitting on top of the foundation of my relationship with God gave me tools which to survive and thrive in a carceral environment. And I wondered, how universal that was. And so I chose arguably the worst prison for women in the United States to ask those questions.
So I see that has informed your work today.
Absolutely.
And your approach to your programs, and your philosophy, behind what you do, how you do. I can't think of a better situation for people coming into your organization to be served with someone who not only has the knowledge, but has the heart and the expertise from a lived experience.
And the lived experience is crucial.
Yes.
Because all too often, people in authority speak more authoritatively or enact policies and procedures that impact the population, but they are not a part of developing. But we're here on the ground. Yes. We know what we need in order to live successfully, to level up in our lives, but we weren't often getting access to resources and opportunity to enact that. And Constructing Our Future is one of those organizations that is in that position now. And to God be the glory for it, because it is women like myself who sat in a classroom and said, how do we build a better reentry program than anything that's out there right now? How do we help set women up for success? Some programs, only let you stay there 90 days to 6 months. Our program is designed to be 6 months to 2 years. And in that, we wrap around additional programming. For example, we have the financial literacy course that we built with Butler University, which was specifically oriented towards people who have been impacted by the criminal legal system. Then we learned that HIV/AIDS infection was going up amongst our population. Then we launched some community events to educate there. And then we brought into the city speakers and other people who had that same lived experience to communicate and share their stories. I think Constructing Our Future is looking at this from a more holistic approach, beyond the direct service in the home, which is priority and number one. We say we want to be of service to the community, service to the city, service to the state.
I'm speaking again with Dr. Michelle Daniel Jones. You see on the screen a website. I want you to visit that website, okay? I want you to to visit it now and bookmark it. And now listen to us. Don't leave the podcast. But I want you to save that website, because there are lots of resources on that website. There is information there. There is details about the various programs you offer. And so I want you to be aware of that. In fact, the website is constructingourfuture.org. Is that correct?
That's right.
All right. Correct. So if you're on podcast, I'll say it, constructingourfuture.org audio podcast. Next question I want to ask is, what are some common misconceptions about returning citizens? Now, the phrase, by the way, we don't say ex-inmates, ex-convicts. Right. We say returning citizens.
That's right. That's right. And I'm very appreciative of the person first language, because the reality of incarceration is a temporary experience. But what happens is the collateral consequences of criminal convictions and the way in which the taint of criminality, the fact that you've been incarcerated, can overshadow so many of your other identities as mother, daughter, aunt, father, son. And so that's why we say returning a citizen or formerly incarcerated, to designate that's a geographic location that's currently not my
That's your identity. What are some misconceptions about returning citizens?
Oh man, there's so many. First of all, that we're lazy and that we're uneducated and that we have to have everything done for us. Yes. We're very seldom empowered to take the lead to develop programming and resources that we need for our own community. And so when you see organizations taking the lead on that, pay attention, because they are counteracting these ideas that the formerly incarcerated person is stuck with the taint of criminality and cannot be expected to be better, to be more, to actually heal and restore from the past. We don't believe that in Constructing Our Future. As a matter of fact, residents, we never ask a resident why they are formerly incarcerated. We never look up a case, because I'm looking at a woman who has told me that they're ready to take a chance on themselves. They're ready to change their mindsets. They're ready to experience new opportunities and resources to build a better world for themselves and their children. They tell me that, I'm ready to go to bat. We're going to work our butts off to make sure that whatever they need, we give them access to. We don't do it for them, because it's all about becoming a grown woman who is accountable for her actions in the world. But we definitely become that connector and that link, that bridge, because we believe in them as women and their value. Period. They have value, period. And it's not conditional.
That's a beautiful statement. Well said. I think about, we look at history, we think of people, we call them slaves. Well, no, they were enslaved persons.
That's right.
They were never slaves.
That's right.
They were.
That's right.
It puts the focus on
language matters. Language matters.
And as you were speaking, my mother, late mother, was involved in prison ministry.
Oh. Amazing.
And she worked women's prison when it was over on Randolph Street years ago. And but she also worked with returning citizens and former incarcerated people and women in particular. And she counseled with them and worked with them. But her last question, after all the talking, her last question was, now, what are you going to do? That's the last question. What are you going to do?
That's right.
Right? Yeah. That's empowerment.
That's right.
What are you going to do? I mean, after you've given them resources, you help them, now you make a decision.
That's right.
Or as the British say, take a decision.
Take a decision.
Take a decision.
Oh, I like that.
That's what they say. The proper
Take
English.
a decision.
Yeah. Let me show, I had a slide up earlier and bring it back up. These are some of the goals.
Yeah.
Future goals for constructing our future. Would you cover those?
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to make sure that the home is welcoming, not a carceral environment. We don't have cameras inside surveilling people. It's a home. That's important. It is clean. One of the staff members from the Indiana Women's Prison came to see the house, and she said she'd seen so many halfway houses for women, and that there were roaches and there were rats, and that they expected people to plan for their reentry in that environment. That is not us. I want a house that I would feel good to sleep in every night. We make sure we're connecting them. It's not about us doing it for them, but we want to make sure that, particularly women who are managing substance use disorder, we want to make sure you're connected Do you have a sponsor? Are you going to meetings? What else do you need to thrive? And then those connected to skill building opportunities. I just connected a current resident. She decided that she had been doing so well in her own recovery that now she wants to be trained as a peer recovery coach. I connected her to MHAI, and in the spring, she's looking to join that and get that education. That's what I'm talking about. Because here she is making a plan to level up. And how do we do that? Constructing Our Futures is out here to be an organization that is sustained and growing. In my incarceration, there were so many people who started a program, started a house, opened an opportunity. And by the time I got out, or by the time these ladies got out, they're nowhere to be seen. Because the infrastructure of the organization, the sustainability of the organization is not set. They don't have a strategic plan. They don't have a fund development plan. And so I'm currently being certified as a nonprofit professional because I want to create an organization that is sustained so that a woman sitting in the prison right now knows her friend is in the house today, knows that 5 years when she gets out, she's got a place to come.
Yes.
You got to build for sustainability.
Yes. Wow, this is so good. I'm happy to be now partner with you. I just met you a few months ago through Chaplain Epps. My wife and I met you.
And New Covenant Church has already blessed us.
We're already on board.
Paper towels and toilet paper. I mean, some of the most expensive things that we buy.
Yes.
The church has blessed us.
We're already on board.
Yes, sir.
And I encourage you get on board, okay? There's a website address. Please visit the website, explore the work, and really support the work. There's no better work than helping people.
That's right.
Helping rebuild and build lives is so vital. Leads to the next question. How can organizations and individuals come alongside of constructing our future?
Absolutely. So Constructing Our Future has a space for board members. So if you are interested in helping us grow, we definitely would love to talk to you more about that. And then we have this amazing project called the Newton House, named after Phyllis Newton, who is 50-year member of Broadway United Methodist Church, but also a founding board member of Constructing Our Future. And Constructing Our Future is looking to get property. Right now, we rent a home, and it's a small home. So we want to take the dollars that we're spending on rent to find a larger house to serve more women. Our little small house currently serves 4 women. We want to get a larger house that serves 8 to 10. And in the 46205 area that is thriving and alive, and near our home office, which is located inside Broadway United Methodist Church. So if any of you are interested in coming alongside with that, maybe you have ideas about real estate or financing or donations for our down payment, I will let you know that we have the first $50,000 and we're ready to get additional support to put a strong down payment down on the house. So yeah.
Well, the Lord is faithful.
The Lord is faithful.
And He has faithful people like you
right.
and your supporters, your husband. And I appreciate this connection now. So appreciative. We're seeing the hand of God in these difficult times.
Absolutely.
But God's raising up people who have a heart for people who want to serve. There's so much self-service going on nowadays.
Right. It gives me hope.
Yes.
It does.
It does give me hope as well. It does. I've been speaking with Dr. Michelle Daniel Jones, who is the director of Constructing Our Future. And again, the website is on the screen. Please visit the website. You also mentioned about a survey you want people to take.
Absolutely.
So speak of that, and I'll bring that slide up.
Absolutely. So as an executive director, part of my job is storytelling. And the challenges that formerly incarcerated women are experiencing in their reentry, there is no comprehensive piece of research for our women in our state. So again, working with Butler University, we developed a statewide survey, which is on the screen here. And we're asking every formerly incarcerated woman, no matter when she was incarcerated, to go ahead and take the survey so that we can get better data on what's happening with our women trying to make it after incarceration or arrest. So please check it out.
Well, listen, thank you for being with us on this edition of Conversations in Focus. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. And share this with others. Spread the word. And I want you to, again, visit the website, constructingourfuture.org. I want to share with you the presentation that she brought to our town hall gathering on November the 15th. Her topic was Housing, a Place to Begin Again. Please support this work as it's making a difference in the lives of so many women. God bless. Have a great day.
I'm so excited to have this opportunity to share with you. I am Dr. Michelle Daniel Jones, and I am the Executive Director of Constructing Our Future. I'm really thankful for the opportunity to talk to you about housing and a place to begin. I don't think a lot of people are aware of the very many barriers to successful reentry, housing being paramount and number one. Over the years, a lot of public policy advocates talked about solving the issue of recidivism was simply with a job. But as people began to ask questions of the incarcerated people and the formerly incarcerated people themselves, they learned that housing was the number one issue that really impacted people's ability to start a new life. For those of us who study mass incarceration and many of the barriers to successful reentry, we understand that there are many, many issues that drive people into the carceral state. And then when they come out of into prisons and jails, and then when they come out of prisons and jails, there are many issues that flood people back into the carceral state. And I think it's important to highlight that a lot of that has to do with, criminal justice debt, personal debt. I don't know if a lot of people understand. People are being reincarcerated for their failure to pay debt. Housing insecurity, job exclusion, issues with easy revocation of parole and probation. All of these things become barriers to people successfully reentering in the United States, and particularly in our state of Indiana. The housing challenge is specifically for formerly incarcerated women. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we sent out surveys asking women how they were managing. And what we learned was housing and precarity was the number one issue that they faced. Most of them were sleeping on couches or in cars or in temporary housing situations with family members or friends. Permanent safe housing was very difficult to secure. A lot of that had to do with the criminal history impacting credit scores. And a lot of that also had to do with issues around unable to maintain employment during a pandemic. Before the pandemic, while we were still incarcerated, several of us got together in a public policy class to develop and create what ultimately came to be called Constructing Our Future. We were looking at two factors, reentry for women and housing blight or housing precarity and instability for that same population. And Constructing Our Future then was created to be a resource where women would be able to come to us from prisons and jails, have a safe place to figure out their plans for their lives in a safe, welcoming environment, and then transfer from that environment into their own permanent housing. From permanent housing, meaning into a nice apartment rental situation or actual homes. We did that through building partnership with community people who cared a great deal about helping formerly incarcerated women, right? And so we surround those women once they come to us with those partnerships and those resources. Construct Our Future also cares a great deal about public policy. As I said, we created this course, we created this program in the middle of a public policy class. And we've gotten involved to pass two key pieces of legislation that impact the home life for women. One bill we passed was the automatic termination of parental rights of incarcerated women whose children were in the system 15 of 18 months. The other law that we passed in 2022 was the anti-shackling bill. And we did that with a broad coalition of community activists, doctors and nurses, and other formerly incarcerated women. We are committed to being problem solvers. And so I will show you at this time the founding members of Constructing Our Future. From left to right, we have women who are activists in their own communities, as well as those who are still incarcerated in prisons in Indiana, either at Madison Correctional or Rockville Correctional or the Indiana Women's Prison. What are we trying to accomplish with Constructing Our Future? Our goals are simple. Returning women are welcomed into a safe place, affordable, where they can live immediately upon release. Returning women are connected to needed services such as mental, physical health care, and substance use services. In addition to that, we focus on making sure that women are connected to appropriate skill building, career building opportunities, whether that means that they are going back to school to complete a credential, or whether they're looking into a vocational career, or in the case of one of our residents who was developing an entrepreneurial enterprise around an idea of an online goodwill. Whatever the case is, our goal is to support women in the establishment of their goals. And to that end, our other goal is that Constructing Our Future is a stable organization with the appropriate governance and funding to be sustainable. It's been our experience, and in my 20 years of experience of incarceration at the Indiana Women's Prison, that there were several different folks who came along to start a program, open a house, make a halfway house, or start something up. But by the time a lot of the women who would love to take advantage of those programs got out of prison, they were no longer around. It is our commitment as an organization built by incarcerated women for formerly incarcerated women to create an organization that is going to be sustained and alive and around. In addition to that, Constructing Our Future has made a commitment not only just to serve the women in our home with direct services, programming, housing, wraparound services. We want to be of service to our community, to our city, and to our state. And to that end, that includes developing original programming. So in our partnership with Butler University, we studied with them to develop a financial literacy packet specifically focused on the needs of formerly incarcerated people. We're starting in January to start our new course, and it's going to be about civic engagement. A lot of formerly incarcerated people have no idea that they can still vote. They don't have any idea how to get involved with the electoral process, how to give testimony for good bills or testimony against bad bills. And so we want to create a course that's specifically geared towards our population to educate them. And I'm super excited about that. And we'll continue to roll out original programming that serves our population. In addition, we learned in some of the research that we've conducted that HIV infections were beginning to rise amongst formerly incarcerated populations across the U.S. In response to that, we began hosting with community partners AIDS awareness events because we want to provide the resources and education so that our community can reduce those rates of infection. But most importantly, we've launched a statewide survey. Most researchers in the state will tell you we do not have good data about what's happening to formerly incarcerated women and their children in our state. We have launched a comprehensive statewide survey with our partners at Butler University to get better data on what's happening with formerly incarcerated women and their children. It's a comprehensive survey. Will take 10 to 15 minutes to complete. We will have critical information on what's happening to women in reentry. And I think that that's a service that we are happy to provide formerly incarcerated women and our state. Constructing Our Future currently has one home located in Broad Ripple, Indianapolis. It is our pilot house, our proof of concept house that we've had and operated since 2021. December 2021 is when we accepted our first resident during COVID, and we have never had an empty house since. We have learned very quickly that we need more housing. We need more housing to serve this population. And so we've entered into a partnership with Broadway United Methodist Church to create the Newton House. The Newton House is named after Phyllis Newton. She's a 50-year plus member of Broadway United Methodist Church, as well as a founding member of Constructing Our Future. Our goal is to work with Broadway to find a home within 5 minutes of the church, which Construct Our Future has our office there, that is big enough to serve 8 to 10 women with housing and supports. We believe this model can be replicated for us to do additional houses for women and children, as well as housing for women aging out of incarceration who are officially 65 and older. This is an amazing project that we look forward to developing with Broadway United Methodist Church. Now we're going to watch a short vignette by Jo Walls. She's a former resident of Constructing Our Future, and she's going to give you a little bit of insight about her story.
My name is Jo Walls, and I did over 18 and a half years between Indiana Women's Prison and Rockville. At that time, I lost a lot of people. A lot of people died, right? And then family and friends as well. My main thing was that I didn't want to be a burden, right? Because I was older when I was incarcerated, so I was used to being able to take care of myself. I was on the job market. I had job experience, all these things, but your life changes dramatically once you're incarcerated for a long period of time. It seems like life keeps going on and you're just kind of stuck in one spot, and there are things that you aspire to do, but you're just held to a limitation because of time restrictions, right, and what you're allowed to do while you're still inside. I'm just thankful to be able to speak to the general public, to make them aware that there is not only a need, but a desperate need for housing for women specifically who have been incarcerated and who are incarcerated and may still have a long time to do. I'm truly grateful for that and for all the ideas that Michelle and the other ladies whom I spent time with and being incarcerated with, they work towards this goal of having housing for women when they get released, and to incorporate other resources that would be readily available to you if you had a problem with addiction or if you had a problem with domestic violence, that these resources were available for you to contact upon referrals. If you needed clothing or food assistance, all these referrals have been accessible as being a part of the package in the program of Constructing Our Future. My vision is to see this type of housing at least in every county throughout the state, because this is the only housing dwellings program set up in the state. This is the first of its kind, where there aren't those limitations and restrictions because of what type of crime or what your sexual orientation is, or if you had an addiction or something. It doesn't put you in a box. The only box is that I made a mistake or I committed a crime, I've done my time, and I need somewhere to live now so that I can be productive, so that I can go out and be a productive, law-abiding citizen. I can get a good job. This is a desperate need for women who are formerly incarcerated to have somewhere to go upon their release, so that's not a worry or a burden, because some people don't have families, some people were orphans. Some people, like I said, the situation with me, a lot of people have passed on while you've been incarcerated for a long period of time. And the penal system throughout the country was not set or geared towards females. It was mostly geared towards male. And so when it quadrupled in the incarceration rates for females, they did not reciprocate with housing or with the programs that were going to be needed for females. So most of the men, they come out, they have places for them to go to, right? But females aren't allowed there, and it's a desperate need for women to have housing, point blank.
So that is what Constructing Our Future is about. Community, building relationships, providing that safe home space for women to go from their incarcerational experience with supports all around them to their own home. And I'm so proud of Jo because she's in her home house today, and she doesn't live very far from Broadway, so we're able to loop her into special events and keep the community growing. Again, housing is a critical need, And we understand that there are renters or people who say yes or no to a loan application, are out there and making judgments based on a person's criminal history. But we hope that you will listen to what I've talked about today and what we're all talking about on these panels today. Special thanks to Ms. Atwood, Ms. Epps, Dr. Bumpus, and Pastor Hudson for the opportunity to share. These are critical issues impacting returning citizens in our state. And I think every one of you have something that you can do to get involved. Because when you look at this photo of women of all ages, races, you don't know who's formerly incarcerated. One is a resident, one is a board member, one is a staff, one is an executive director. But what you see is a community of women who've made the decision to create a better future for themselves. And I think coming alongside folks who have that focus and that intentionality is what all of us should be doing. And I thank you so much again for giving me your time today, and many blessings and prayers for you all. Thank you.